Our guest today is Morgan Smith, and Morgan is being recognized, along with some other people, as distinguished alumni at Coleman High School, and that's quite an honor.
Very much so. Very unexpected.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I can think of just so many people just in my class alone that are out there doing incredible things in the community here in Coleman, in Birmingham, all across the state. All across the nation. So
well, that's true.
Really,
that's true.
Really. So it's not lost on me. I'm very, very honored. So.
Well, I'd like to just talk to that. Well, first of all, let me start with this. On Facebook, do you do your own Facebook?
Yes, I do. I'm not very active on it though.
Okay.
I found that it became kind of a slippery slope with interaction.
Well, it says on there you are a laugh enthusiast. Now, what does that mean?
I guess just that I like to laugh. Don't we all, though? I love comedy. But
So you're a good audience?
I think so.
Not that you're the funny person.
I'm biased. I'd like to think I'm a really good audience member. I love a good laugh. I think I'm very present. I think I'm a very supportive audience member.
Well, I had never seen anybody describe themselves as a laugh enthusiast.
That's me.
Then the other thing I saw, it says you love candy.
Oh.
So.
Well, thank you.
We brought Werther's in today.
Well, thank you. Don't mind if I do.
Help yourself.
Thank you.
Now, why did you say you love candy?
Oh, it's a vice. It's been a problem for me since I was a kid. Even on Easter Sunday, you go down the Easter basket. Candy would be my breakfast. I'd just sit there and just eat it all. And then my mom would be like, okay, eggs, you want some cereal? I'd be like, oh, I'm good. I got my sweet tarts and my Reese cups. I'm fine. I'm full. I'm ready to go.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, let's talk about Coleman. Well, start with your family. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, so I grew up in Coleman. I wasn't born here. My family moved here. I was about 3. So really, I grew up here. Majority of my life. My dad is a physician in town. He's a surgeon. My mom was super involved in the community. I feel like just such a fantastic volunteer. She had such a heart for service. She still does. She's in Birmingham now. Very involved in their children's lives. My mom was like homeroom mom, and I have a sister, Hillary, and she is actually here now, raising her children here in Coleman.
Okay.
So I was actually, right before I came here, I stopped by to love on my niece and nephew.
So the kids say, there's Aunt Morgan.
Yeah, they call me Mourner, actually.
Mourner?
They do. So I'm not Morgan, I'm Mourner. So there's Mourner. Hey guys. For the longest time, my nephew thought, seeing me on television in this ad campaign for Wendy's, I guess because we started 3 years ago, and he would have been 4, I guess. And he thought that I worked at Wendy's, so anytime he would pass a Wendy's, we need to pull in and see if Mourner's working. We can say hey to her in the drive-thru.
Any other family members?
In Coleman, no.
Okay.
No, my grandparents were in Tuscaloosa, so we would grow up, we were able to go see them quite frequently.
Okay.
My mom's family was in Talladega, and then now several of them in Birmingham as well. So family nearby, which was good.
And you're married to Dave?
I am. Dave Goodwin. He's originally from Birmingham. We've been married for oh my gosh, almost going on 6 years.
I was thinking he was from New York, but that's where you met, right?
We met in Birmingham.
Oh, okay.
I know. But yes, we've been in New York as long as we've been married.
Okay. So, well, after high school, you went to Birmingham Southern.
I did.
And why Birmingham Southern?
I knew a few people who had gone through that program. They have a fantastic musical theater program, and I knew I wanted to major in theater. I love music. I knew I wanted that to factor in somehow. Their music department there is also fantastic. I had kind of struggled with if I wanted to pursue more of a liberal arts education or if I wanted to go the conservatory route. And I learned that the conservatory that I was really eyeing, but it just didn't feel quite right, wasn't the perfect fit. The person who started that program it's actually Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. The head of their program there actually started the musical theater program at Birmingham Southern. So once I found that out, I was like, done deal. I can get the same education, and I can get the same theater education, but I can couple that with the well-roundedness of a liberal arts background, which was very much appealed to me.
Okay, going back a little bit.
Yeah.
When you were a youngster,
Yeah.
you performed in the Missoula Children's Theater.
I did,
Right?
yeah.
Is that when you first started to get the bug?
I guess so. Before that, I started studying dance when I was like 3. If you can call it studying dance when you're 3. But I started ballet class when I was 3, and was hooked. And so I did that from 3 and all through high school. So it started there, and then I was watching like movie musicals at home. I loved The Wizard of Oz. I loved The Sound of Music. I loved all the Rodgers and Hammerstein collection. Like I had all of those and would just sit there. And I would watch all the Shirley Temple movies at a very early age. So I would be singing and dancing in the living room. And I guess it never occurred to me that I could do that. I could pursue that. I wasn't old enough yet. I just thought it was something fun I did at home. And then I got involved at our church, First United Methodist Church, in the children's choir. And then they started doing these little musicals, like one around the holidays, one around Christmas, and one in the spring. And I loved them. So I think that's really where I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then the Missoula troupe came to town, and that was the first time I guess I really did like a fully mounted production with all kids in 1 week.
How many years did you do that?
I did it for 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
First time I did it, I think I was in like 4th grade. Yeah.
Do you remember what the productions were?
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I played, her name was Foxy, and she was one of Snow White's fair forest friends. So I was that. And then we did The Fisherman and His Wife, and I was the fisherman.
You were the fisherman.
I was.
Okay.
I was. And yeah, breaking gender stereotypes at a very young age. And then we did The Pied Piper, and I was a town councilman. Also played a male. So yeah.
Now, were you in productions at high school too?
I was. I'm so glad that program is growing now. When I was in high school, when I was in like elementary school and middle school, I remembered seeing them doing a lot of productions. And then we kind of went through a phase where there wasn't really a drama teacher there to kind of take the helm. They had someone like my freshman and sophomore year, and then she kind of went away. So it was kind of, people were chipping in, and it wasn't until Miss Pass came in and really took over.
Okay.
And she did Annie, Get Your Gun, and that was my junior year, and I got to be in that. That was a blast. I played Annie Oakley, and that was fantastic. Loved it.
In addition to Miss Pass,
Yes.
other teachers that were an influence on you.
I was a member of the band in high school, and so I would say Gary
Mr.
Taylor, yes, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Key, and then Miss Bean in middle school. Because of them, I learned how to read music, and they give their students the opportunity. We were reading music every day. We were reading new music. Once we were in high school, once we were in symphonic band, we were reading new music every week almost, and that is fantastic. And that's the way to build that knowledge and to challenge that and to get better at it, is to constantly be sight reading.
Right.
And I think it's incredible that even at a high school level, Mr. Taylor really pushed his students to do that. I was not the best baritone player by any stretch, but he also he recognized other strengths. Like he knew that because I could read music, but I loved to sing, and so I was a dedicated member of the band. But he would also let me come in with the jazz band, and I'd get to sing with them. So that was fantastic, and definitely gave me an outlet that I otherwise would not have had. Yeah.
Okay, Birmingham Southern. Did you do productions there?
Yeah, so at Birmingham Southern, I was actually a Presidential Musical Theater Honors Scholar. So under that umbrella, I was kind of required to at least audition for pretty much every show that was done.
At the school or in Birmingham?
At the school.
Okay.
So I would do typically like 4 shows. We would do 4 shows a year, 4 to 5 shows. So yeah, a slew of musicals, a slew of Shakespeare, Favorite Shakespearean play that I did would have been Midsummer Night's Dream. I played Helena. I loved doing that. Favorite musical that we did. I was talking to some friends about this today. I spoke to some of the students at Wallace, and they actually just closed. They did Into the Woods this weekend, and we did that my junior year in college at Birmingham Southern. That is a really difficult show, and I loved it though. We did that. I played the witch. That was fun. And then, everything I did there was a blast. I think it's such a gift. You learn this once you transition into the professional world. It's such a gift to be doing theater in an educational setting where it's a completely safe space, and you can explore as much as you want. It's really the time where you learn your process as an artist, and I'd say treasure and value that time if you're a student, because it's not quite like that once you get out. A little more fast-paced.
Other than the Shakespeare, did you do anything that wasn't a musical?
I did The Diary of Anne Frank.
Okay. Yeah.
I did this really odd show. It was kind of this like strange nonlinear piece called Acrobats. I did A Doll's House. Trying to like read back my resume. That's a good start. I did. So it was a very well equally matched experience with straight plays and musicals.
Do you still have a desire to do one or the other, given the opportunity?
I want to do it all. I love it all. I feel like it's kind of like when you get in the car and like what kind of music do you want to listen to? Some of it depends on your mood, and I think that you kind of go in waves and transitions. I've been in this on-camera world for a while, and I was kind of ready for a shift. I've been doing so much theater for like 6 years when I got this, so it was a very welcome change. And now, after 3+ years of doing this, I still love doing the on-camera work, don't get me wrong, but I'm jonesing for that live audience again.
Okay.
So I'm working on a few things. I've got a one-woman show that that's in progress that we're working on that's with the music director, so there will be music in that. And then I've got a friend who's a very gifted playwright, and he's writing some material for me, and that will be a heavier drama. So I like to not limit myself.
Talk a little bit about productions in Birmingham.
Yes.
You did Sweet Charity, of course.
I did. That was relatively recently. I came back and did that about 4 years ago.
This was after you had graduated from college. You came back and did, but weren't you in some other productions?
I was. Before I moved to New York, and while I was even in college, I would do shows like in the summer in the community there. I did Chicago. I played Roxy in Chicago. I played Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. I played, what else did I do? I did Sweet Charity. I played Charity in Sweet Charity. I played Huddle in Fiddler on the Roof. Louisa and the Fantastics. I really love that show, actually. That's a good one.
Talk about some of the people that were an influence on you in Birmingham.
Well, definitely my professors at Birmingham Southern, Michael Flowers, Alan Litzy. But even before that, when I was in high school, I was a member of, at the time the organization was called Summerfest. Now it's called Red Mountain Theater Company. Okay. But at the time, it was called Summerfest, and they had a performing ensemble, which they still have that youth performing ensemble now. And you auditioned to be in it, and then we performed all over the state of Alabama. We performed internationally. We went to London, performed at a performing arts school there, which was really cool. The founder of that group, her name is Mrs. Padalino, and I think she was super instrumental in getting me involved in that world on a much higher level than I already had been, and really helped facilitate the kind of training that I eventually received. So that was huge. And then they also do a youth workshop camp in the summer. It's like 2 weeks. And I would attend that. And the instructors, they would bring in instructors. One instructor they brought in, I love her to this day. Her name was Karen Oster, and she worked for a huge production company in New York. But she was so kind and patient and encouraging, but she was a wealth of knowledge, and she was so good at reading someone and their talent and their capabilities and pushing them when they thought they couldn't go any further, or they couldn't amp it up a little bit. So she was monumental in my life, my development as an artist. There are people that are still in Birmingham now performing that have been just their mainstays in the theater community there. Jan Hunter, Christy Tingle Higginbotham, Lonnie Parsons. I looked up to those guys so much, and definitely took a page from their book. They had a huge influence on me.
Do you stay in touch with them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I'm, on Facebook. And then, if I can't, when I come home, I've been so bummed because the past couple times I haven't been able to come home at Christmas. But if I can come home around the holidays, we always try to normally Jan Hunter hosted a big Christmas party for the Birmingham theater community, and I try to at least pop in there so I can see everyone and hug necks and catch up, and someone's always singing at a piano over here. It's a very theatrical evening.
Well, tell us about the jump to New York City. That seems to me like an awfully scary decision.
Right. Yeah, I think it can be. I think, well, thank goodness, I don't know, my own naivete, I guess, helped me from chickening out. Also, it's something I always knew I wanted to move to New York. I knew at a very early age that this was what I wanted to pursue. I feel really lucky to have, to have been so certain that I knew what I wanted to do with my life, career-wise. And then, two, I feel really lucky because I picked a career that is, hard to navigate. And so far, things are going okay. So, thank goodness. Fingers crossed that continues. But yeah, I mean, I guess it was like late elementary school. I would say really like middle school is when I was definitive. I'm going to do this. I'm moving to New York. This is what's going to happen. I was flipping through, like old memorabilia from middle school and high school, and I came across like the middle school newspaper, and I was in 8th grade, and everyone's writing like, in 20 years, so-and-so will be. And you write it for yourself, and I said, I will be living in New York City. I will be an actress living in New York City. Wow. Yeah. I was like, oh, good job. Good job, little Morgan. You did it.
When you audition, and I'm assuming you do a lot of auditions.
Yes.
Have you ever kept track of how many you got the role and how many you didn't?
I haven't, because I think that might end up getting kind of depressing.
Well, I was thinking most of the time you don't get the role.
Right, absolutely. The famous saying is you go through 99 auditions before you even get one callback. Those have not necessarily been my odds, but it is true. It's a lot of no's. Makes it so much sweeter when you get the yes. But it's a competitive industry. It's also, the more you move up in it, the more specific it gets. And they're looking for something. It's not like I could, not that it wouldn't be equally as competitive auditioning for the regional production of XYZ. But when they're doing that in New York, they have it like, this is going to be the person that we have. Normally, they know exactly who they're writing it for, honestly.
Oh. Okay.
And then sometimes they can't get that person, but they have such a strong idea, a very clear and firm idea of what they're looking for. And most of the time, this is what you learn the more you do it. It's not about talent. There's so many other mitigating factors that come in. I mean, talent's obviously a part of it, but at this stage in the game, pretty much everyone's legitimately talented that's there.
Yeah.
And everyone brings something different to the table, and it's you're what they're looking for, or you're not. And sometimes it literally comes down to, she's 2 inches too tall for us. The person that she has to play opposite of is the love interest, and he is only 5'7", and she's 5'7". So we needed her to be like along the lines of 5'4", 5'5". So it's not going to work out. It truly comes down to stuff like that sometimes. Comes down to hair color, surprisingly.
Oh,
Not so much
wow.
with theater, but with on camera, it can come down to hair color. It can come down to. It can even be as simple as like your name is Susie and the director's ex-wife's name is Susie, and it's just going to be a no-go.
When you first got to New York, you were auditioning for plays, I assume?
Yes. Yes. Started out primarily in theater, and that's what I was doing. Got really fortunate. So early on, I started booking work pretty soon, which was great. I was still auditioning a ton, but I was fortunate enough to be booking steady work and meeting a lot of people, and that opened further doors and making those connections. I was lucky enough to then start getting some phone calls. People would think of me when they had a project coming up, and that is a wonderful feeling. So that's been my biggest takeaway, is to go into every opportunity super prepared, super open, ready and willing to work with anybody and for anybody, because I find that people, what they take away from their work experience with you speaks volumes more than what you do on that stage. And if they liked working with you and if it was a positive experience, because it's not just about the performances, you're in rehearsals for weeks and weeks, and that's the stressful time. If that's a positive experience and you do a good job on stage too, I find that word of mouth gets back around. And,
How about performers that you look up to?
Oh, well, I mean, some of my friends even, but in terms of like actors that we all maybe know and love, I mean, who doesn't love Meryl Streep? I love Goldie Hawn. I loved her. I loved Overboard as a child, watching that. Private Benjamin. I love Cate Blanchett. I love Diane Keaton. Woody Allen, I'm a huge fan of his films. He gets that
Have you
neurotic.
auditioned for any of his productions?
I haven't. That's my thing. I'm like, can Woody Allen make another film? He tends to make a movie, and then he doesn't make a movie until he's really digging it. And so I find that he has big gaps in between his projects. I did find out he does play clarinet at the Carlisle Hotel on Monday nights, so I'm going to go see him do that. And maybe I'll just say hello, drop him a line. We'll see how that goes.
But his productions all seem New York-based.
Absolutely.
Now, do you have a accent problem in New York, or?
I don't find that I do. Every now and then something maybe slips out, or it's really if I just say y'all, which I do, and people are like, oh, where are you from? But otherwise,
so you don't get stereotyped into you need Southern roles or something?
No,
like that.
I told I was talking to my agent and my manager, I never get sent in on Southern stuff. I only have twice. Oh yeah, only 2 times, and I've gotten they've been very specific things, both on television. And I got this close both times. And I was like, maybe we should start sending me in on more Southern stuff. If the shoe fits, let's wear it. Because plus I love it. I love the South. I think it'd be fun to depict an authentic representation of.
Did you audition for any commercial work before Wendy's?
Not really. I had actually just signed with my commercial agent a month and a half before this job, and I went out on 3 other commercial auditions, and that was literally the week before I auditioned for this, and that was just me trying to get my bearings. And then this was my 4th audition, and then my 5th audition was the first callback for this, and my 6th commercial audition was the second callback.
What did they require in the audition?
So you go in, you arrive, you're given an appointment time, and there's a breakdown of kind of what they're looking for, the breakdown of what they kind of wanted this character to be. And then they have the copy, which is the script, and you try to memorize it as much as you can. With this, they had a lot of copy. They wanted to see some range, so it was a lot of different spots that we were doing in the audition room. But they'll also put the lines up they only do this in the commercial world. They do not do this in the theatrical world, or even in the, the legit theatrical on-camera side. Only in commercial world, they'll write your lines on like a huge easel, so you can kind of cheat and like look up and see where you are if you get lost. So they had that in there, but it was like 4 or 5 different spots that they were kind of brainstorming at the time. One of them we ended up filming. One of the spots that I auditioned, we ended up eventually filming once I was cast in the campaign. It was one of the first spots we did. And the other stuff was stuff we never even saw again, but it was either material that they wrote knowing that would give them a good idea of range and in terms of like fleshing out this character, this abstract character that they had in their mind.
Walk us through what takes place in shooting a commercial.
Well, you start pretty early in the morning. So you arrive on set, you're taken to the Vanities trailer for hair and makeup, and wardrobe. So you get all dolled up, and then you report to set, normally get wired for sound, and then you start rehearsals with the director on set, trying to walk through blocking. And it's not like rehearsals because I had never done a commercial before. My first commercial was for Wendy's, so I was definitely learning as I went along and totally faking my way through it. Like, oh yeah, of course, but of course we'll do it that way. So yeah, you do this rehearsal. It's very brief. We're talking like the director's like, okay, I'm thinking you're going to start here. You're going to hold the hamburger in this hand. You're going to hold the cup in this hand. Make sure the logo's out, and then take the bite on this line. Then put it down, and we're done. Or start here, walk there, and we're done. It's like, okay, great. You run the lines a couple times with the other actor, and then in that entire time, they've been working on lighting. I have a stand-in who stands in my spot so they can use her to light for the most part, and then I come in so they can finish it out. And then you're ready to go, and you're ready to shoot. They normally shoot the first couple rehearsals. They'll roll tape on that so that in case it's brilliant, they have it.
Which it never is.
Right, it's normally a fumbling mess. And then you're going, they break it up, there's a shot list that we use throughout the day, and they get all the coverage they need, my coverage, and they normally get a wide, which has all of us in it. It's a huge establishing shot. Then they move in tight on each actor to get their individual coverage. They may do an over the shoulder, they may do some point of view shots, and all in all, these shoots last about 12 to 15 hours.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so
for one commercial.
For a 30-second spot.
Or 20 seconds. Some of
some are 15. Yeah. So we're looking at about 12 to 15 hour days.
15 hours
every time, and crews of over hundreds of people. It's a huge production. It really is. It's amazing. Like I sit there and I look around and I'm just like, wow, this is pretty incredible.
It's an industry unto itself, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. And I would imagine you mentioned the fact that you did some that were never broadcast, as far as you know. Yeah, well, most of them have all made it to air. Early on, we had a few that we shot as like market test shots, test spots, and that was more about the product that didn't quite work. So they'd have an idea for like some special sandwich. Pick 3 test markets. We would shoot a spot, and it would only air in those 3 test markets. And then, if it's a hit, they'll release it nationwide. And then sometimes they use that same commercial, and then sometimes we go back and they rewrite the entire spot because they want to put more into it, and we'll do that. So there have only been a couple of those tests that really never went anywhere. For the most part, they've all been aired. I think it was about 4, 5, maybe even 6 months ago, I was told that we were filming our 100th spot. So we've done a lot. Yes, you have.
It's been a lot. It's been great. It is a lot of work, though.
Are you allowed to do other projects while you're under contract with Wendy?
I am. And earlier on, it was a little trickier with availability. As with it was a newer campaign. We were shooting a lot more and still trying to figure out kind of what was working and what wasn't working. And now 3 years in, I think they've completely they've hit a good stride, and we shoot regularly, but it has definitely, my schedule is now freed up quite a bit, so I can take on other work.
Okay.
Early on, I was in LA at least 2 weeks out of every month. I still am there twice a month typically, but the shoots have gotten a little shorter. We've banked so much footage as well.
Okay.
We've shot so much in advance. Like one of the more recent spots that aired, trying to think some spots will air and we will have actually shot that 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
So we're working, we're really banking a lot of stuff so they can roll that out. And that gives us some time some flexibility with the shoot schedule.
Do you do appearances for Wendy's?
I do. I've done a handful for them, mostly at corporate headquarters or big corporate events. They do a huge national convention. So I did an appearance for them there in Vegas, which is fun.
Now, can you go as yourself, or do you have to go in character?
I go as myself.
Okay.
I go as myself, and I, come out, and we kind of talk. It's always really fun. Normally, the CMO brings me out, and we chat about. He normally is showing the most recent spot we did, and he airs that for everybody to see, and then we chat about a lot of what you and I have done. He goes through tell us where you're from, tell us about a little bit about your life, and then he always likes to bring up the big Alabama, Crimson Tide, Ohio State stuff. I'm just okay, great. I'm not a very popular person in the room. And then we talk about the process of making these spots so that everyone else kind of gets to hear that too. So yeah, but I get to be myself. And then we do a meet and greet, and I get photos with people and actually get to talk to everybody, which is always really fun.
Tell about Dave and his job. I think it's kind of interesting.
It's a really cool job.
Dave is your husband, of course.
He is. Dave is my husband. I'm very proud of him. He has an incredible job. He is one of the managers and sommeliers at Gramercy Tavern, which is this fantastic restaurant in New York City. They have been around for 20 years. Danny Meyer, who's a big famous restaurateur, opened that, and he has now gone on to open, I think he's got 12 other restaurants, 11 other restaurants.
Wow.
Yeah, so he knows what he's doing. And but yeah, Dave is one of their managers and also sommeliers, which means he's the guy in the suit who, if you're looking to get a really nice bottle of wine with your meal, or you want to do some amazing wine pairings, he comes to you and helps kind of facilitate that, pick that out based on what you're having, make sure everything's complimentary, tries to maybe taste you on some things that are not easy to find, and he's a fancy food and wine guy.
You mentioned a little bit about future projects.
Yes.
Talk about after the Wendy's thing is over with.
Well, well, who knows what I'll do completely after that. But what I'm working on right now that I'm super excited about, and some of this may not happen until that kind of wraps up, I'm working with a music director who is fantastic, and we're putting together a one-woman cabaret style show for me. Since I've come from a theater background, and I haven't done that in a while. It's been 3 years since I've been on stage, and I want to remind people that this is what I do too. Plus, I want to scratch that itch for myself. So we're putting that together in the middle of. We're going through music, and he's arranging stuff, and we're trying to piece a show together, and so that's exciting. And then, as I mentioned, a good friend of mine, playwright, he's written a play that I'm very excited to be a part of. So we're trying to facilitate the production of that in New York. And I write, and one of my dear friends is my writing partner, and we have been working on a screenplay, and are continuing work on that. It's never ending, editing and trying to complete, and then we'll get into pitching. But yeah, that's kind of what's next. It's a lot of possibility, I'm excited about it.
Directing?
We will not be directing. We've written it, and we plan to star in it. We've kind of written 2 roles for us. written a lot of other roles for a lot of other people, but no, we will take ourselves out of we won't give ourselves that much creative control.
Morgan, thank you
Thank you
so
for
much for
having
the
me.
time today.
Yeah.
And once again, congratulations on the honor from Coleman High School.
Thank you so much.
That's very good.
Thank you.
And come back and see us again.
I will.
Okay.
Thanks for making time for me.
We'll be back with more right after this.